Everybody, as we go to the class today, we are holding page number 185. This class is called "When the Ordinary is Extraordinary," finding meaning and purpose, wonder in every day's moment. So the class starts off with a question. Can you recommend ways to make the rest of the day meaningful, to transform the ordinary parts of the day into something extraordinary? So you don't have to answer that question. Let's just go to the class, okay? Let's go to the class.
Recommend drink.
I can't recommend that. It's a fast day. Do not ask your children, text number 1, to strive for the extraordinary lives. Such striving may be admirable, but it's the way of foolishness. Help them instead find the wonder and the marvels of an ordinary life. The beauty of the life of the ordinary. It says, Tamim Tiyam Hashem Lekecha, go in simplicity with God. Don't look for great shakes. Don't put high bars on what you want to accomplish. It's just going to give you a heartache. Live a simple life. See the beauty in the simple. Show them joy of tasting a tomato, an apple, and a pears. Show them how to cry when pets or people die. Show them the infinite pleasure of the touch of a hand, and make the ordinary come life for them. The extraordinary will take care of itself. William Martin, the parents to the teacher. Okay. My friends, the Rebbe connects this concept, self-understood, in a spiritual way. And this was actually a very important teaching of the Rebbe to look at the beauty of the ordinary. And the Rebbe would explain this, especially when it comes to Purim, the holiday of Purim. As we know, one of the things that the Gemara says, that you don't find God's name in the whole Megillah. In the whole Megillah, which talks about the miracle of Purim, is not mentioned God once in the whole Megillah, which is fascinating, that they don't mention God in the Megillah. It's like a story. It's almost like you open up a book and you're reading a story of some historical event, some like a magical event, like something that made in Disneyland. Like, the prince, it has all the right components. Right, when you want to make a good movie, money, sex, and action. You got all of it in this Megillah. There's king and the kings and queens and princesses and murder and money, action. Got it all. It's a beautiful story. It almost can be like a story, as I said, something written in Hollywood. And the truth is, this story was written down by Esther. It says in the Megillah itself, Vatichtev Esther. Esther and Mordechai wrote the story down. And as you'll soon see, it was an argument. It was not a simple conclusion to actually incorporate the story. It's a nice story, a phenomenal story, but why would we incorporate this into the Tanakh? Why would we incorporate this story into the Tanakh? And they ultimately did, but it was not such a simple event. It didn't happen overnight that they incorporated this story. The whole Purim story, the whole Purim celebration is also an interesting concept, that it was established as a holiday. It was not a simple event. It was not so simple. You have 2 Jews, you have 3 opinions. Surely when you have 2 rabbis, you have 10 opinions. So it was not a simple event that it would even be incorporated in Jewish history. That there would be an event of Purim that would be taken on by Klal Yisrael as a holiday, like it's been taken on since this story happened. There were many Purims. If you know history well, if you're a history buff, you'll know that there were many Purims that were established in Jewish history in different cities. From the Purim that happened then, there were many cities, not in the time of Purim, it was a majority of Jews at that time that lived in Persia, and Israel was under Persia too. But there were cities throughout history that were almost up to annihilations in Jewish history, and they were saved. Some of them were saved, and there was Purim. There's no the Purim of worms, the Purim of in Poland, different cities. There were Purims. There were Purims that were established throughout history of almost similar events where Jews were saved and they made a Purim. But it never became an established event for Klal Yisrael, the story of Purim. Yeah, I'm sorry, you wanted to say something?
A little translation of Purim.
Purim means, it says in the Megillah, Purim is actually a Persian word. Purim comes from the word pur, which will be part of the class. We'll soon see. Pur is the Hebrew word girdle, a lottery. Okay, so Purim al Shem HaPur. It's on the in the Megillah. It says Purim. They call the Purim on the name of Pur, which is a girdle. In Hebrew, you call girdle a lottery. That means Haman made a lottery to which day he should annihilate the Jews, and it fell on this day, and that was his lottery. Right, I'm talking about later on in history. They had Purims. They called it Purim because it was the same kind of situation where they would annihilate a city, and it was survived, and they made a Purim. Like, as Jewish history, they tried to kill us. We survived. Let's go eat. And it hadn't happened one time. Purim was a situation again when the Jewish people were under one situation, and the entire Jewish nation was under one power, which didn't happen in history. Like Hitler, he had a dream to take over the world, and then the entire Jewish nation would have been under his thumb. Thank God it didn't happen that way. But those that were under his thumb, he tried to annihilate, and he annihilated 6 million Jews. But the Jews in America, for example, were not under Hitler's thumb at that time. Thank God. And other countries, Jews of England, and etc. Yeah. You want to say something?
I want to say, for not speaking Hebrew, not speaking English, not speaking Yiddish, you did pretty well.
Thank you.
That was good.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your. Okay, so so actually, the Sikha starts off with the Gemara of Purim, the Talmud of Purim, which is interesting. Today is the 11th day of the month. Today is actually Purim. Today is Purim in a way, because Purim is flexible. It's an interesting thing in Jewish law. Purim is flexible. Purim is flexible. There are actually 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's between 11 and 15 days you can celebrate Purim. Today is a fast day. It's called Tainus Esther, the fast of Esther. Really, we should fast on Saturday. Usually in a regular year, Purim falls out on Monday, so you fast on Sunday, right? Because on Sunday night is Purim, right? So Tainus Esther is the day before Purim. This year it's Shabbos. Tainus Esther, it would be on Shabbos. We cannot do it, so therefore we don't do it on Friday either. We push it to Thursday. So we pushed the Tainus Esther that should have been on Saturday. We pushed it to Thursday. So today is Tainus Esther. But the truth is, as you'll soon see in Jewish law, today could be Purim in certain places. Today, actually, the 11th day could be Purim. And I'll explain you why. You'll see the halacha, but I'll explain you. It was the Torah, the rabbis wanted everybody ultimately to hear the story of Purim. It's a mitzvah that should be announced, and everybody should hear the Megillah reading of Purim. So therefore, in history, the times of the Talmudic times, people lived in small cities. And it was very hard for them to hear the Megillah on the day of Purim itself. Why? Because like this year, it was on a Sunday. Sunday is not the market day. Market day is Thursday or Monday. That's market day. Market day is when people come from other cities and they come into the market and they sell their wares. So it's called the market day. There was no market days. Mondays and Thursdays in small cities were market day. If you ever travel to a city like in old shtetls, like I did, go to Poland, you'll see that every city has a marketplace, like a big center in the city. Even till today, they have a big open area in the center of the city. Why did they have these big open area? Because that was market. That was the market, right? Didn't have stores, no many stores, didn't have Publix. Didn't have those stores. It used to be twice a week. Everybody from the surrounding cities would come into this city and set up a marketplace. And they used to sell their wares. And they used to sell the fruits and vegetables and whatever else. So it was called the market day. And it was Monday or Thursday that was market day. And it went like that for history. You don't have such thing anymore because Baruch Hashem, we're out of that system, right? Baruch Hashem, every city has all the things they need. But that used to be. It used to be like that in the times of the Talmud too. You lived in a small city, Boca, a little small city. There was no food. There was no market here. They used to Monday, Thursday. So what happened in such a situation? That means people would come to the city. It was market day. So people from other cities would come to the city. So what would happen? They would say, okay, Thursday's going to be market day. Somebody who's selling something from another city that knows how to read the Megillah also, guess what? The guy is a businessman, but he knows how to read the Megillah. He's going to be in the city. Let's do the Megillah. Right? We can't do it Sunday. It's not market day. We can't do it Shabbos. We can't do it Friday. It's Erev Shabbos. It's not market day either. Thursday. So there were times in history, it's not a Stama thing. There were times in history that in certain cities around the world, they actually read the Megillah today. They read the Megillah on the 11th day of the month. They read the Megillah in cities that survived on the market. In the cities that the market day was an important thing, that other people come into the city, that suddenly now there's somebody that has come in from a different city that can actually read the Megillah. So we got the guy who's the reader of the Megillah. And a lot of things happened on market day. The rabbi would come to the city. It was a day of gathering for the city. And a lot of things happened. The courts were established also in history on Thursday. Monday and Thursday, courts were established. Why? Because everybody came into the center of the city to get their stuff. If they had an argument, they went to court, dealt with it, and went home. And that's the way they established it. That's why, listen, Baruch Hashem, we don't have that issue anymore. So therefore, today we don't do this. Everybody can come on what's a Shabbos this year and hear the Megillah reading. You don't need to read the Megillah today. But even you'll soon see in Jewish law, let's say you cannot hear the Megillah reading on Sunday. Let's say you can't. You're having an operation on Sunday. Chas v'shalom. You cannot hear the Megillah on Sunday for whatever reason. You have an emergency operation. You can today hear the Megillah. You can today read the Megillah. If you know that you're not about to hear the Megillah on Sunday, on Saturday night, we can read the Megillah for you today. You'll go into that situation. The difference today, we won't say a bracha on the reading of the Megillah for you, but we can read the Megillah today and you can be Yaitza hearing the Megillah because you have an emergency on Sunday, which you cannot hear the Megillah.
So that's for this year because of the way it falls.
Right.
But on another year.
It could be, so therefore it can be on the 11th, or it could be on the 12th, or it could be on the 13th.
Whenever the time.
So let's say, for example, if Purim is on Tuesday, then the cities would move on Monday. So now it's the 13th. If it was on Wednesday, so then they would do it. They wouldn't do it the day after. They would do it the Monday before. Now it's going to be the 12th. This year they would actually be the 11th. If Purim in the times of the temple, in times of the old generations, whatever you want to call it, times of the Talmud, they would have a situation like Purim this year. So many cities, I'm talking about many cities, would read the Megillah today. They would do the other things on Purim itself, but the Megillah reading to have somebody read the Megillah for them, they wouldn't have it because they didn't have anybody to read. So they would do it today. What?
What's the day that the lottery actually fell on?
The 13th, the 14th, 13th today.
The 13th.
Right, and they fought on the 14th. No, I mean they fought on the 13th. They rested on the 14th, and on Shushan Purim the 15th. On the 13th. Okay, so look how the Gemara. I just told you quickly the concept. You got it? Anybody have a question? You got it? You understood this concept? So therefore, this is the Mishnah on page A186. Your text number 2. A. The Megillah can be read on the 11th of Adar, on the 12th of Adar, on the 13th of Adar, on the 14th of Adar, on the 15th of Adar, not earlier, not later. That's it, right? Because if it's Sunday, this is the earliest, the 11th. You can't say we'll do it on Monday. Wait till Thursday. Wait till Thursday. You can't do it later, but you can do it earlier. You can't do it. You can't say Purim's on Monday. I'll do it on Sunday. I'll do it on Monday. You can't do it unless you're a walled city. But if you're not a walled city, so actually, you have, in essence, you have three different kind of people. You have three different kind of people in Purim. You have a walled city, like Jerusalem today. They do Purim, not on Sunday, on Monday. Shushan Purim. Then you have the unwalled cities that do it. Most of us, most Jews, do it on Sunday, the 14th. And then you have the villagers that I just mentioned to you, that they do it either on the 12th, 11th, 12th, 13th. I mean, the villager has the most flexibility. The guy who lives in the city, like we do, live in cities, we don't have flexibility. It's the 14th. The guy who lives in a walled city, he has the 15th. He's also unflexible. He's the 14th or the 15th. So example, Jews, if you live in Eretz Yisrael today, you can celebrate Purim twice, really, right? You can, and Jews do that. They celebrate Purim in the city where they are, and then next day they go to Yerushalayim. They all travel to Jerusalem. You travel to Jerusalem the next day. Now you're in the walled city. You're celebrating Purim with the Jews of Jerusalem. They're living in a walled city. They're all celebrating this year on Monday.
Now, in Jerusalem, does it have to be in the old city?
So no, today it's today they consider the whole Jerusalem. Okay, but because it's part of the old this old city. So that's it. So you can in Israel you celebrate Purim 2 days, and in America you celebrate it's called Shushan Purim. So we don't Tachnun or whatever, but you don't read the Megillah. But over there you actually can hear the Megillah 4 times, right? You can hear the Megillah on Saturday night and Sunday wherever you live. Then Sunday night, go to Jerusalem, you'll hear the Megillah again, and you can say Monday in Jerusalem, you hear the Megillah again, and you'll celebrate 2 days Purim. Yeah, why not? Why not? Keep the party going. Cities that are surrounded by walls since the days of Joshua, son of Nun, read the Megillah on the 15th. Villages, okay, villages and on-wall cities read it on the 14th. However, villages advance their reading to the earliest market day. Just to explain to you how so. If the 14th day falls on Monday, the Megillah is read on a day, the villages of unwalled cities. And the next day, walled cities, right? Because Monday is a market day. If the 14th falls on Tuesday or Wednesday, the Megillah is read for previous market day, Monday, in villages. On a day, the large cities, and on the following day, the walled cities. If the 14th day falls on Thursday, the Megillah is read on that day for villages and on walled cities, and the next day for walled cities, Friday. If the 14th day falls on Friday, Megillah is read the previous day in the market day, Thursday, in villages, on the day of unwalled cities, and the following day in walled cities. So that's how it went. There were 3 different concepts. There were 3 different laws for the 3 different kinds of people. Yes?
Is it wrong today to like read the Megillah just for the fun of it any day?
Yeah. You have to make a bracha. That's a problem. We're talking about making a blessing. You can read the Megillah any day. Problem is making a blessing. You can't make a blessing on a day that you're not obligated to read it.
Can you make the blessing yourself? Or?
No, you can't make a blessing. The blessing is only when the mitzvah is. A blessing is the minute when the mitzvah is. Not a mitzvah to read a Megillah today, for example. So that's why if I read for the Megillah, I cannot make a blessing. I can read the Megillah. You can read the Megillah any day. Any day you want to read the Megillah. We're talking about the mitzvah of reading Megillah. The obligation to read the Megillah. When are you doing the mitzvah? You're not doing the mitzvah today. Because today is not 14th. So you don't.
To do it as early as possible in the day, like let's say Sunday.
No, doesn't matter when you hear the Megillah. Doesn't matter. Yeah. So the question is very interesting that we have this flexibility. We suddenly have a mitzvah. We have a celebration. It's like if you have Pesach, decide when you want to make Pesach. You have 4 days to decide. You Rosh Hashanah, pick your day. You have a flexible. You don't have such a thing. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. why suddenly when it comes to Purim, we have this flexibility of pick your day. Pick your day. Where do you live? What are you, a villager, a one-wall guy, a walled guy? Who are you? What do you want to be? So the question's asked. The Gemara says all these dates are established by the main. These were all established by the Anshe Knesset Agdela, the rabbis of the Great Assembly, the Sanhedrin at that time. With Anshe Knesset Agdela, all the Jews were in one place at that time. Had they instituted Purim only on the 14th and the 15th of Adar, the sage of later generation would not have permitted to add those dates. So we must say that they themselves made this holiday into many dates. For the law states that the court may not uproot the ruling of a previous court unless they are greater in wisdom and number. It is thus obvious that all of these original established by the Anshe Knesset, when they established the holiday to begin with, they established it on this concept. Where it implies the book of Esther? Where do you see that you have this flexibility? If we're establishing this holiday on the book of Esther, where do you see this concept that we have this 15 days? We have this 5 days, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We know the Megillah says the 14th and the 15th. We know that because Esther asked that Shushan was a walled city, that we should make the holiday the 15th. So that we know it says in the Megillah. So the 14th and 15th we know. But where do we see the 11th, 12th, and 13th? So the Gemara asked that question. And Rabbi Shemin, the son of Abba, said in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, to observe the days of Purim in their times. If you look at the word of the Megillah, it says bizmanam, in their time. It doesn't say zmanai, in its time. It says in their times. That means that the rabbis of the Great Assembly of that time established that there are different times. There's not 1 or 2 times. There could be 3 or 4 or 5 times, which there is ultimately 3 or 4 or 5 times that you can say the Megillah. And that means that from what we're trying to prove here is that we have all these dates is not something that started off later on in history. That was established from the day that this story and this celebration started. So therefore, the Shulchan Aruch, and you go to the Code of Jewish Law, text number 3, those who have embarked upon a sea voyage or joined a caravan to cross the desert on the 14th of Adar and do not have a Megillah to take along, right? For whatever reason, that emergency, they had to go on this voyage, they had to leave the city, they had to, I used before, they have an operation on Sunday. Well, what do? Should read the Megillah on the 13th, the 12th, and 11th. They can pick until today. You can, if you have an emergency, you can hear the Megillah from the 11th or the 12th or the 13th. However, they should omit the blessing. That's the thing. We should take off the blessing. That means in the times of the Talmud, they actually use the blessing. If they read the Megillah in the small cities on the 12th, they said the blessing. But today we don't want to do that. So, because you take the Gemara in its simplicity, you have to live in a small city. There's not this different kind of cases, emergency. Who said it goes into the same concept of a small city? Whatever. It's just an inference, and therefore we take out the blessing.
But still Yotzi.
The Yotzi without a blessing, you can't say the blessing. That is a customary cited before reading. So therefore, the halacha pertains until today, in essence. Yeah.
Wait, I'm
No,
confused. I'm confused. You only say the blessing on actual Purim?
Right. So today we only say the blessing on Saturday night
Okay.
and on Sunday morning. But if in emergency you're going to read the Megillah for you today, we're not going to say the blessing. We'll read the Megillah. You should read the Megillah. If you have an emergency that you cannot hear the Megillah on Motzei Shabbos, and on Sunday, really, you could start hearing the Megillah today. The 11th of Adar. Today is the 11th of Adar.
Isn't it always a blessing to say a blessing? Why would it not?
Because again, it's a question is if you have the mitzvah, you only can say a blessing on a mitzvah. The blessing is over a mitzvah. You can't say a blessing. You can say a blessing, thank you, God, but you can't say the blessing that the rabbis established as a blessing. You can't say that's saying God's name in vain. That would be saying God's name in vain. So you can't.
Isn't the blessing a mitzvah in itself?
When it's a mitzvah. You're saying the blessing over the mitzvah, not saying a blessing that's out there. You're saying a blessing over a mitzvah. So if it's not a mitzvah, like for example, you can light Shabbos candles today. Are you allowed to light candles today? Yeah, but it's not a mitzvah. You can't say Lahadik Ner Shabbos Kodesh. It's not a mitzvah to light Shabbos candles today. But you can light Shabbos candles today because day light Shabbos candles. Why not light candles? But you can't make a bracha over lighting the candles. You can light candles. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, sure. It's a mitzvah. If you don't have the mitzvah, you can't say the bracha. You only can say the bracha when you're doing the mitzvah when you're supposed to do the mitzvah. That's it. Because then it's saying, you'll be saying, God forbid, one of the 10 commandments, you shall not say God's name in vain. It's not a mitzvah to light Shabbos candles today. And therefore, by saying the blessing, you'll be saying God's name in vain.
It says it's in the Shulchan Aruch. That's what this is from.
Yeah, sure
So
enough.
it's that
Yeah,
third
sure
one.
enough. Yeah, sure enough. What did you do?
Say next, you don't say God's name.
That is God's name right now. And first you say Elokeinu. So Adonai is God's name. You're not allowed to say Adonai. That's what people say. Yeah, but that's God's name at this present time. Adonai Master.
So I just said.
No, because you're doing it as a learning process. Yeah, you shouldn't say that word in general. That's why a lot of Sfardim say they'll say Hamodai, they'll change, they'll flip it over.
Hashem.
Hashem. That's what we say, Hashem. So we have the question, why was Purim set up in that kind of a way? Why was Purim, out of all the holidays, set up in a way that it could be flexible? You don't have that in Passover. You can't say 4 days before Passover. It's funny, I once met a Jew, like a week before Passover, and I wanted to give him matzah. He said, you know what, Rabbi? Last week the family was together, we did the Seder. We did it already. We decided we're here already, let's do the Seder. A week before Passover. So wonderful. You can make a Passover Seder, you can make a mock Passover Seder. You can't make a bracha. You can't make the brachas that for the mitzvah of Passover you can't do. So you can make a Seder, you can eat matzah, I don't know. You can tell a story, what the nobody can get hurt. But the mitzvah to make the bracha, Kiddush over the holiday, you can't do. The saying God's in vain because it's not Passover, it's not Passover. So you can't make the brachas.
No credit.
Yeah, it's cute. I sometimes think God enjoys those kind of things. He enjoys out of the box in a way. He enjoys a Jew who comes up with the original things. So I think God enjoys it. But that's a separate issue. A separate issue. I told the guy, here's the matzah, and when you and even though you did a seder, when you come Pesach, it's gonna be in 2 days, whatever. Eat the matzah, make a bracha, and eat the matzah for the mitzvah Passover.
It's a good thing. If I have to travel on Shabbos, I can buy candles now.
Can't. So you can't. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. In general, if you can light Shabbos candle, you can't light Shabbos candle. You can. So, but you cannot do it on Friday and Thursday for Shabbos. It doesn't work. So that's why it's interesting to understand how this. So let's say I can't keep Shabbos this week. Let's do it this week on Thursday. So we'll keep Shabbos on Thursday, and Shabbos I'll go. I need to go play golf. So you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. Self-understood. You can't do that.
Ultimately, we were supposed to.
Yeah. What you say?
Yeah, but we're supposed to eventually.
Mashiach comes. When Mashiach comes.
So then we'll say, bless you every day.
No, we won't. Doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean Shabbos doesn't come every day. It means that the spirit of Shabbos, the atmosphere of Shabbos, will be every day. Not that every day is going to be Shabbos.
So Saturday will still be Shabbos.
The spirit of Shabbos, but the actual laws of Shabbos will be always on Shabbos. The spirit, Shabbos spirit, no work, godliness, that, but it doesnn't mean that we won't drive a car. And then we're going to all drop our cars. We're going to start walking after Mashiach comes. Are you serious? Jews are going to go nuts. Yeah, you're about to drive. So you can still be able to drive cars. We're not going to make a cup of coffee in the morning anymore. Finish. We're going to use supply. Are you serious? Not a shkeit. No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. It means that the spirit of Shabbos will be throughout the week, but not that the actual laws of Shabbos will be throughout the week. Okay. So to answer this question, we have to understand the establishment of this holiday. The establishment of this holiday is not so pashut. It's not so simple. The Gemara gives us a background a little bit about this, the establishment of the holiday itself. The establishment of the holiday of Purim. The Gemara says, Shalcham Esther l'chachamim. Esther sent to the sages of those days and told them, Kavana l'dairis, establish this festival for prosperity. I want you to establish this festival forever. The sages sent the word to Esther and said it would provoke the nations against us. You are right. Still, Yidden was still under the Persian rule. Things didn't change much. They would not have, thank God, annihilated. But what are you creating a festival that's going to basically say the victory of Jews over Persian? It's just not going to be a good feeling. You're going to flare anti-Semitism. So Esther sent them back and said, "It's already printed. What do you mean? It's all the news already. So what does it make a difference? It's already written up in the royal annals of made in Persia. It's who doesn't know about the story? What's going to change? The world knows about it. So why shouldn't the Jews establish the holiday as a holiday? Why wouldn't you? What, you worry about the nations? And everybody knows about it. So this was in the national news. It was all over the press. Everybody knows about it already. So what does one thing have to do with the other? The rabbis agreed with her, thank God, and they established it as a yontif. That's why in the Megillah itself it said L'shana Acheres. The year later, it took a year of arguments for the rabbis to establish this holiday. They were not all on board on establishing this holiday. But ultimately, once they established the holiday of Purim, they made it such a holiday that will never be changed. It says, Kol HaMoedes Hasidim about the Gemara says, ultimately Mashiach comes, all holidays will take a second place. Purim ain't a betel lo'ilam, but the Purim will be a holiday like it's today. We will never ever go away from this holiday. That's interesting. So in the beginning, they were skeptical about the whole holiday and ultimately established it as an everlasting holiday, meaning even greater than Passover and greater than Shavuos that we celebrate and greater than Sukkot. Purim is going to be front and center throughout history.
Does that mean no Pesach?
No, it doesn't mean no Pesach. It means that Pesach will be not as the big holiday that we take it at present. It'll be a holiday. It'll be a holiday. Nullify means it takes a back seat. Because we're Mashiach. So what is the greatness of Pesach is going out of Galus? We are out of Galus. The whole point of Pesach today is that we celebrate that we could go out of Galus. That just like God took us out of Egypt, He'll take us out again out of Egypt, out of exile. So it's going to take. It'll still be part. It's the Torah itself. As Torah does not change, but it's going to take a second space. But the rabbis, after establishing Purim, said, "Bingo! This holiday is the greatest holiday." They went from why make it a holiday to it's the greatest holiday.
Because we dress up in costume.
Not only that, let's go to the Megillah itself. The Megillah itself was on shaky ground. The Megillah itself, right? Because the rabbis, what's the fancy word? Tantalized the Tanakh. The rabbis established what's going to be in the Tanakh, the 24 books of the Torah, right? And now she wanted to push this Megillah into the 24 books of Tanakh. She was a brazen woman, this woman. Right? She wanted, and you read it in the Megillah itself. This is all in the Megillah itself. There's nuances you'll see where she says the same thing. She approaches the rabbis. The rabbis, Esther sent to the Chachamim and said, Kasvani l'deinis. I want you to take the Megillah. We wrote a Megillah. Me and Mordechai wrote this Megillah. And we want you to cantalize it. We want you to put it as part of Tanakh. You know that there's a Megillah Sachashmonoim? There's a Megillah of Hanukkah?
No.
Yeah, there is. The rabbi didn't put it in part of Tanakh. But there is the Megillah of the Chashmonaim, the story of Hanukkah. But it's not in part of Tanakh. It exists. In the Chashmonaim. You can find it. You can read it. But the Megillah is in the Tanakh. That was not simple either. Yeah?
Tanakh is the written and the oral law.
Tanakh is the written. Tanakh is Torah. Tanakh stands for Torah, the 5 books of Moses. Nevi'im, the prophets. And Ksuvim, the writings, like Esther, like Esther's in the writings, like Tehillim, etc. So it's ultimately 24 different books. Really, the beginning is 5 books, the 5 books of Moses, and there's another 19 books called the Tanakh. Okay, so it's all over the place. Tanakh.
What's the definition of Megillah?
Megillah is a scroll.
And so the oral law is something else that's outside.
That's outside of that. That's actually called the written law. Tanakh is the written law. Okay, the oral law is
The Torah and everything else.
no Tanakh is the Torah. Tanakh is the written law. Okay. So Shochala, so they sent her back. They told her, "Halekasafti lacha shlishim v'lei ribim." In Mishli, which is part of Tanakh, it says, "Write me up for prosperity." I'm sorry, it says, I'm in the English again. The sages have gone back. It's written, "Indeed, I wrote you 3 parts." The rabbi said, the story of what is the story of Megillah? It's the destruction of Haman. That was the real story of the Megillah. So it's already written 3 times in the Torah, the destruction of Haman. Twice in the Torah, in the Torah, in the 5 books, and 1 time in the Nevi'im, the story of Shmuel HaNavi, who destroyed Amalek. So it's already written already. The rabbis in answer said, we can't write it a 4th time. We have it already 3 times in the Torah, the story of the destruction of Amalek. So what are you going to do with this verse? The verse says 3 and not 4. You're asking us to put another story of destruction of Amalek in the Tanakh. We can't put it. So she came up with an answer. And one of her answers was that in the Torah, it's 1 story. It says twice Amalek, but it's the same story. So really the Torah is 1 story. And the Tanakh and Shmuel is another story. So we have 2, and mine will be 3. So that's how she fixed the verse 3 times and not 4. So let's get it in. I want you to put it in the Tanakh, which they did. They put it part of Tanakh. Megillah is part of the Tanakh. So we see that it was not so simple. If she went to come up with this answer, then maybe Megillah wouldn't be part of Tanakh. And ultimately, what happens? Look at Maimonides in text number 6. All books of prophets and Ksuvim will be nullified in Messianic age. Right? We're a whole different era. Right? When Mashiach comes, who needs to learn about Shmuel HaNavi? Who needs to deal with these issues anymore? The writings. All books of prophets will nullify the Messiah. Again, nullified, be careful with the word nullified. It means that it's going to take a secondary stage, except the book of Esther. It will endure like the 5 books of Moses and like the oral law that were transmitted by Moshe. They will never become null. So Tanakh, the 19 books or the 18 books will become secondary. There's history of the Jews in before what happened to the Jews throughout history from the time of Joshua. Who's going to need to know about that? We're in a messianic time. We're past that. That was all part of it.
Elevates the book of Esther.
Right. So what elevates the book of Esther? That's the question. That's the question. So you see that there's a struggle, and ultimately it becomes greater. Right? There's a struggle. The rabbis have a struggle, and ultimately once they establish it, it becomes greater.
They're afraid of it?
That's
Okay.
that's exactly it. I mean, they had a long road work to push it to them.
Okay. The third thing is, why did they call it Purim? Really, the best question is, why did they call it Purim? Why would they call it Purim? They should have they called it Purim on the story, not on the victory, but actually on the story of Haman. That's what why would they call it Purim? In Hebrew, it's really called a geidel. They should have called it a geidel. A lottery is a geidel. Why would they call it Purim? A Persian name. Why would they give it a Persian name? And that became the name in history forever. It's called Purim. Why would they do that?
The origins arrive, from Persia, Iran, so I guess the label should be.
I understand. So why, as Jews, why when we call it geidel? That would be figure out a geidel. That's the Hebrew word, right? The Hebrew word is geidel. So why would we use a Persian word to celebrate our holiday? We're using a Persian word.
What was the language back then? They were either speaking
Jews learned
Farsi.
or Hebrew. Jews speak. They never
I
stopped
thought it
speaking Hebrew.
was- I thought it was Aramaic back.
No, Aramaic was for the Talmud, but the Talmud was not even in existence at this time. In this story, it was either Hebrew or Persian.
I'm guessing the majority of people were not literate and just, they only spoke the native tongue.
I understand, but why? I understand. So what question is still why? You want to celebrate the victory of the Jew? Why you celebrate the victory of Hebrew? Why celebrate the victory of a Persian? Why remember the Persian?
Maybe there's a connection, like with Moshe, we use his name for Shambatia. And because we remember with gratitude Moshe Rabbeinu. But maybe there's a connection that to Persia, we want to remember that it was over. We just make it Hebrew, it just becomes our own, but now we're doing it over far.
But I would say the question would be even if you're going to call it Geidel Purim is a lottery.
Mhm.
You're calling a holiday on a something that is almost like luck.
Right.
Rabbi,
Right, really, wait 1 second. Let me think my thought. You're calling a holiday on something that's luck. Why would you give that? Here we're celebrating the victory of God, that God saved us. Why do we call that? No, this is a luck situation. It's a Purim. This is like it's almost seeming like we're trying to get God out of the whole situation.
It really wasn't God.
It was God. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for God. So thank God.
No, I guess.
I know we do thank Esther. We call the Megillah Esther, but still, we self-assume make a bracha on the Megillah, which emphasizes that it's God's victory. It is happened through Esther and Mordechai, but self-understood, it's God. It's not Esther and Mordechai. If God wouldn't want to have Esther and Mordechai do this, we wouldn't be here. Self-understood. So it's God. Yeah. Wanted to say something? Joy, you wanted to say something?
me? Yes, I was going to say, maybe it was written in Persia because when Esther went to the sages, she said that she had already been written up in the royal annals
Right,
of India
correct.
and Persia. So
Right.
it would appeal more to the masses in this sense, being written.
Okay.
in
Okay, I hear you. That's good. That's good. So look at the Alter Rebbe in text number 7. The Alter Rebbe says, he tries to give a twist to this whole situation. He says the result of the lottery appears to be random, not rooted for reason. It's a random situation. However, in truth, lotteries are determined by God in a manner that transcends all reason. Question is, why'd you win the lottery? Baruch Hashem, you won the lottery. Definitely, especially with $760 million. Baruch Hashem, you won the lottery. But it's really random. It's actually the randomness shows on a really a godly intervention, something not that a human being could have made that you should win the lottery. When you follow reason, you are free to make intellectual choices. When you throw lots, you suspend intellect choice and you place yourself at the mercy of the lottery, even if the results defy reason. This means that you throw your lot into the divine supernal will that transcends reason. So that's why that's in essence what we're saying. Purim, therefore they call these days Purim, which conjugates pur, which means a girdle. Haman's pur, an attempt to co-opt God's blessing in defiance of all reason through the lottery, failed. See, Haman himself understood that he cannot annihilate the Jews with logic, through a logical situation. He had to come to a situation that says, "Look, it's a lottery. This is like God sent. This is like God sent. This is like look at this. You're right. Why would I want to annihilate the Jews? But look at that. I made a girdle. I made a lottery. And look at that. It fell at exactly a great date, and everything is wonderful. God, it's a God-sent situation. I'm a little bit of a history buff, a little bit in English history. I like kings, and they used to use that. It's a God sent. We don't. Oh, they would say you can't go out to war. No, but God says we gotta go out to war. This is not gonna. We're not winning this war logically. I'm the king. I have this godly. I have this godly power. Yeah, that's what he used to say. I don't have to respond to anybody. Yeah, the other side said the same thing. They didn't realize that. The other side said the same thing. But they were kings. If you went against them, you were dead. Because how can you go against God? So they had this, even though they had all these, and that's why all these advisors were basically fake, because they had to say what he wanted to hear. Because if they would disagree with him, you're dead. And it was not logical. You were right, but you were dead anyway. So you had to go above logic. You had to say the king says so, God says so. We're going to win, even though we know we're going to lose. We're going to win because God said so. And that's the end of the story. The truth is, as Jews, we say the same thing. In a way, right? We say the Avish is with us. The Avish is with us, even though logically it doesn't make sense that we should survive. We have God. Yeah.
So how come I recall the story that the lottery fell on Moshe's day?
The month that he died.
Oh,
the month.
Oh.
So Haman's poor. God transcendental will not defy reason in support of the impure Haman. Rather, it supports the Jew who merited through their other self-abnegation, jeopardizing their lives for the one God. So that's why the truth is, you should not. The miracle only happened on Purim is because the Jews sowed life above logic. That's called Mesiras Nefesh. That's why the concept of Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice. When a Jew does everything according to logic, then everything, his response should be logical. If a Jew does something because it's above logic, that's called Mesiras Nefesh. He goes like a lottery, just throws his himself into something, not because it's logic, because that's what God says, then that's why you have a response that's above logic. The primary joy of Purim is that Haman's pur dissolved. Actually, you should know some people say it's called Purim because it's pur. Pur means something that breaks. In Hebrew, it's something that dust breaks. Crumbles. In essence, throughout history, we saw great powers that logically had determination, the power, the capability to do terrible things, And logically, they had that power and that capability, but ultimately everything crumbled. Against their own logic. Against their own determination. Everything crumbled. That's why, again, we say after davening that a Jew should not be afraid of the councils and all the things because everything crumbles. Ultimately, the Eibush has shown, and the truth is that why, as a Jew, we should go above logic because the Eibush has shown us. We say it in the Seder, B'chol dor v'dor, every generation, every great nation has gone against to destroy the Jewish nation, and it crumbled. It ultimately crumbled. Purim. Does it make sense? No. It doesn't really make sense. It shouldn't have crumbled. They should have been successful, but it crumbled.
A lot of the things that the Jews had crumbled too, like
Correct.
temples.
Yeah, correct. But our belief in God never crumbled. Our connection to God never crumbled. Right, our Beis Hamikdash has crumbled. No argument. But ultimately, our connection to God and that we're still here never crumbled. Never crumbled. The nations of the world, if they only wanted to destroy a building, they could have done that easily. Some understood the destruction of the building was to destroy the Yidden. They wanted to destroy Judaism. Right? So you had, for example, throughout history, if you go through, if you ever take a trip through the world, you'll see that all throughout history, they wanted to destroy the Gemara, the Talmud. There was nation after nation wanted to destroy that book. Not the Torah, per se, because that was the part of their without the Torah, they don't have a religion. So they needed to have the Torah there. But they wanted to get rid of the oral law. They wanted to get rid of the Talmud. And they burnt the Talmud. And that was a major event for them. A major event and accomplishment. What?
What bothered?
It bothered the Jew. They understood if you destroy the Talmud, you destroy the Jew. It would be easier just to get rid of the Jews instead of killing them personally. You destroy the Talmud, destroy the fabric of their existence. They will they'll ultimately disappear. Right? Because you don't the Talmud, the oral law, Yiddishkeit is what kept the Jews alive. That's the reality. That's what kept us alive, not the
What bothered them about the Jew?
Okay, well, that's a separate issue. But that's anti-Semitism. It's not a new thing. That's not a new thing. But the point is, they tried to destroy the Talmud, which is amazing that they couldn't accomplish it. They couldn't accomplish it. They couldn't accomplish it.
Isn't that a human thing though, Rabbi? I mean, I don't see it as just a Jewish thing, although it's definitely a Jewish thing too, but same thing happened with the Native American people in this country.
Yeah.
People tried to kill all the French, people tried to kill all the Spaniards, and they all still managed to keep their thing going. So it seems like it's a human thing, it's not just.
I agree. I'm not going to argue you. I'm not going to argue with you. And I'm talking about the book. I'm talking about tradition, and they say Tibetan. The Dalai Lama called the rabbis in. He said, "How do you keep this thing alive? How do Jews, keep it?" Not a joke, it's a serious story. He said this story. What's his name? Rabbi Wolf. He called a bunch of rabbis. Said, "How do you do it? How'd you keep Yiddishkeit alive? You're chased away from your country 2,000 years. How'd you keep it alive? How do people still yearning for something after thousands of years? It's very difficult things, and that's why it's unusual things. We're not talking about hundreds of years. We're talking about thousands of years. Thousands of years that Yidden continue to do things that Jews have done thousands of years ago. That stubbornness is also an amazing thing. The Rebbe says that's why Purim, this holiday, is the fabric of Jews. That's why the rabbis made this holiday into an unbreakable holiday. Because the whole holiday, right, is the rabbis understood ultimately that this holiday logically should not have been made. You're right. If you want to argue in logic, should this holiday be a holiday? Should this book be part of the Tanakh? Maybe not. But the holiday, in essence, shows on something that's greater than logic. This holiday shows on something that actually will not just be a holiday that happened in Persia 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. This holiday is going to be the fabric of everything that Jews do throughout this history of life. That they're not going to see God. They're not going to see, they're going to see whatever they're going to see, and they're going to realize that they still need to keep to Yiddishkeit. They still need to keep, even though the world and the nations of the world and every nation, from the Persia to the Babylonians to the Romans, etc., from Spain to America, everybody's going to try to attack this concept. Everybody. I don't know if the Native Americans were killed by everybody. They were killed by the Americans. The Jewish people have been destroyed by every nation. There's not a nation in this world that didn't have a personal relationship with Jews. And the Jews were actually thrown out of every nation and not allowed for thousands of years to come back to their country. So not only were thrown out of other countries, they were not allowed to come back to Israel for thousands of years. Okay, that's the reality. You had a nation that was chased from nation to nation, from every country to every country. And thank God, America and a couple of other nations allowed Jews to come in. And look, and the Jewish nation continues to survive and to thrive. It's above logic. It is the story of Purim. It's truly the story of Purim, from one situation to another situation of the Jewish nation. You're saying it's a stubborn nation, and that's why. But I say that's true. That is true. But where do we get the stubbornness? Where do we get this above logic? Where do we get the stubbornness that doesn't let things go, doesn't let it happen?
If people try to murder you for thousands of years, you become resilient. That's why we're stiff-necked.
Okay, but not only we became resilient in our way, in the way of life, that we kept the way of life. It's something that we survived. Well, a lot of Jews decided the way to survive was to slip away, assimilate, and that's how we survive. That has proven that doesn't work. That's one thing that has proven. Hitler proved that it doesn't work. And now Hamas has proven again it doesn't work. You can be Jewish, you can be religious. It doesn't make a difference to them. They hate the Jew. So that's proven. So you might as well be religious already. You might as all Jews might as well be, if they're trying to hide, they're trying to run away from their religion. It doesn't help. That doesn't help. And Baruch Hashem, Jews, whether they're religious, not religious, celebrate certain Yom Tovim as a Jewish nation, whether it's Purim, whether it's Pesach, whether it's Tisha B'Av, whether it's Yom Kippur, by holidays, etc. So the Rebbe brings it down into the concept where we started off from, that we have three kinds of Jews. We have walled city Jews, we have unwalled city Jews, and we have villagers. In the halacha, in the story of Purim, we have three kinds of Jews. And what are we most flexible with? The villagers. What were the villagers? Those are the farmers. The villagers were the farmers, right? The city Jews were, like you have the Jews that live in the city, and you have the Jews that live in the capital, right? Sophisticated Jews, right? Live in the capital. They live in the city. Then you have the farmers, the Jews that are farmers. The simple Jews, right? They're busy with the tomatoes and the potatoes, and the cows. So look at the Rebbe explains it in 194. Ready? Towns, city life. Cities is far self-sufficient. However, and all dependent upon the relationship with rural communities in their hinterlands. Renaissance Florence established such greatness in part because of the auspicious relationship it retained with the sharecroppers in the Tuscan countryside, who provided the urban elite with secure food supply, as well as the grain and oil and wine, which Florence elite in turn sold or traded throughout Europe. So ultimately, everybody survived off the farmer. Everybody survived off the simple guy. So the Rebbe says as follows, text number 9a, because we got to finish this. People who lived in walled cities can devote themselves completely to God, right? They're protected. Their spiritual disposition is like an enclosed fortress that shields them from the unsavory influence of temptation. Spiritual task of people in the outlying cities is to be surrounded by worldly temptation and nevertheless use the worldly resources for holy purpose. Thus, they created a city, a home for God. They did not need to plow and plant and wait until the crops grow. They just take the pre-prepared, ready-made resources and turn them into a home, a city for God. Villages, that's the regular city. Villages must plow and soften the hardened soil, corporal world where God is not visible, to make it sprout and grow. So villages, the Rebbe says, do not have the keen perception of God. They do not relate to God intellectually or emotionally. They're farmers. Their relationship is marked primarily by their obedience. Nevertheless, the self-abnegation is complete. In fact, the surrender to God driven by simple loyalty is greater and deeper in some ways than the surrender to those who enjoy rich intellectual or emotional relationship to God. In essence, the Rebbe says that's why we have the flexibility. That's why specifically Purim, this holiday, which shows on a concept of a relationship to God above intellect, brings out the greatness of a villager, a simple Jew who is not in a walled city. He's not even in a regular city. He's sitting out there as a farmer. He's a simple Jew. Nevertheless, he has the most flexibility. He can start his holiday of Purim today. He can start his holiday of Purim. The guy who's living in the city can start his holiday today. But a regular villager, a regular simple Jew can start his holiday today. He can start his holiday the 11th of the month. Dafka Purim, and only Purim, a regular villager can start his holiday 4 days before Purim. He starts the holiday of Purim. Because it shows on the greatness of simplicity. You know, in this week's portion, you find a very fascinating verse statement, and we'll end it off because you want to say the Shema. Yeah. So the Torah says, when you see in the beginning of the portion, it says somebody, Adam Kiyakif, a man that will sacrifice. It says if a man will bring a bird, and then it says v'nefesh, if a soul brings a mincha, soul. So we have a rich man can bring an animal. A lesser rich man can only afford a bird. The poor man can only afford some flour. That's all he can afford. He can't afford to bring the animal. He can't afford to bring the bird. He only can afford to bring flour. What's interesting, the Torah calls v'nefesh. The Torah calls him not a man, calls him a soul. So Rashi says, because when somebody, a poor man, that cannot bring an animal, that's all he can bring is some silas, that's all he can bring is some flour, he's bringing his nefesh. He's bringing his soul. Right? The rich man can bring a cow, thinks like, you can sell, you can buy me off. I did a sin, here's a big cow. Like the Eibishter needs your cows. He doesn't need your cow. When a poor man brings flour, that's all he can afford. He brings himself. He brings his soul. In essence, the Rebbe says the same thing over here. That a villager, you might look down on a villager and say, what is he? He's a guy's a farmer. He's a villager. But when it comes to Purim, when it comes to Purim, the concept of our relationship with God, actually, the villager has more the flexibility. The villager is the one who actually can celebrate Purim, this holiday, days before the actual Purim happened, because the whole holiday is above rationality. The whole thing shouldn't have happened. The whole thing shouldn't have been established. The whole book shouldn't have been written in the Tanakh. Everything shouldn't have been done. But all those things that shouldn't became the ultimate, fell into place and became the ultimate concept in Yiddishkeit. So the Purim that shouldn't have been done, that shouldn't have been made a holiday, the Purim that shouldn't have been put in part of Tanakh became the ultimate holiday, became the ultimate book. What does that show every Jew? The guy, if you think you shouldn't, if you think you're part of the villages, that you're a guy who's nothing special, who are you? Who are you? You're a great rabbi, you're a great sage, you're going to conquer the world. Well, who do you think you are? You're not even living in a walled city. You're not even living in you're not one of the knackers. Comes the holiday of Purim and tells you, to the Eibishter, the God, everybody's a knacker. Every one of us, whatever we do, is considered praiseworthy. And not only that, to those villagers, you can start celebrating Purim right now. So I believe I am a villager. You can start celebrating Purim right now and bring about happiness and joy in whatever we do. And God is satisfied, even though we're simple and we're just a villager. But we can accomplish that today.
Why costume?
I'm a villager.
So God bless us all. I want to invite you
Thank
all.
you, Rabbi.
Purim on Saturday night. We're going to start at 8:30. To another
Easy
number.
fast, Rabbi, easy fast.
Oy
Thank
vey.
you.
So the Rebbe, in terms of the scholarship aptitude, the Chassid Ableib Ebler was a simple man. Once when he was in a private audience with my grandfather, the Rebbe Menachem Mendel in Tzemach Tzedek, my grandfather said to him, Elia, I envy you. You travel to various fairs. You meet many people. Sometimes during a business transaction, you get to warm discussion about a Jewish aphorism or Talmudic morals, and you arouse a person's interest in the study of esoteric dimension of the Torah. So he said, I'm jealous of you. I don't go to the marketplace. I'm a rabbi. I'm sitting in the shul. So you go out to the marketplace. You meet people. Look what you accomplish. This causes joy and high. And God pays you a commission for the blessing of children and health and sustenance. The larger the fair, the more work there is, the greater the commission is earned. That's a beautiful story. That is a beautiful story. We're all in the marketplace. So even though you're a person that's in the marketplace, look what you can accomplish in this marketplace. You're a villager. You're a farmer. You're in the marketplace. Century Village people. Well, God bless you. Happy Purim, everybody. Happy Purim. God bless you all. Hopefully, I'll see you all Saturday night at 8:30, the reading of the Megillah. Don't forget that. God bless you all. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Have a wonderful...
Thank you, Rabbi.